My story doesn't really start with me. I didn't realize that until I got a little bit older. When I look back, I think about my journey and what I've gone through. Sometimes I felt like I was in control, but as I look back, I see that I had really very little to do with what was going on. And when I began to understand God and the things that He required of me, man's interpretation of religion and society and rules and regulations and dogmas, I felt like it was my responsibility to live up to those types of things. The irony was that the more I pursued God, the farther I felt away from Him. And in my mind's eye, I could almost see God trying to tear through that religious overlay to get through to His people. And the one that would show up in my prayer closet was not the same God who would show up on Sunday mornings. And so as I began to read the Bible, I began to see that just about every story that ever existed, man had nothing to do with starting that story. And nothing seemed to really make sense until I realized He was pursuing me. And that wrecked me. Changed everything. It brought me to a point where I was able to feel again, have purpose again. And I think Christianity began to make sense. I realized that I didn't need to pursue God, but I needed to surrender to His pursuit of me. And that began to heal my heart. It began to change everything. It began to change my journey and my outlook and my destination to where I began to want to be pursuing the same people in the same way that God pursued me. When I realized that Jesus came not just to forgive us for sin, but to give us peace and rest, that I can't have that unless I surrender, unless I stop carrying the burden of pursuit for my life. And the moment I began to do that, then God became real, God became touchable, tangible, livable, applicable in every situation that I've ever had. So now my story is to pursue those people whom God pursues. My story is to be like Christ in this generation. And if I were to be asked one thing that God is doing right now in this nation, in this country, in the church, and His people, it's one word, and that's restoration. To heal His image, His face, the false idea of God that man has imposed upon society through religion, doctrine, misunderstanding, that God would take all of that and begin to work it for something that clarifies who He is. And God wants to begin to change how He is viewed. We've created an idea of God that does not exist. God wants to be as He is, not as we make Him to be. And that's the kind of God that I surrender to in pursuit of me. And that's the kind of God I wish for the world to surrender to as well.